Hello, and welcome back to my journey from normal to Norway. Um, wow, it feels way too long since I've posted. I've definitely missed this, missed talking to you, whoever you are. Um, but yeah, it's been a bit of a busy time. Work has been busy before and during and after the Thanksgiving holiday and all of that. And then this past weekend, my mom was in town. And so I was hanging out with her for a few days. And that was really good. She was sick, which I felt bad for her, but it was still some good time together. And since I don't really, go back to my hometown and spend Christmas with my family anymore, it was good to have that time with her around this time of year. So, anyway, yeah, it's been a while, and I'm not going to lie, I was really debating not doing this, even though I really wanted to, for stupid reasons. My chin has been breaking out, and I have a fever blister on my lip, and just stupid vain things like that that don't matter. I mean, it's stuff that happens to, all of us. So deal with it, self. So anyway, yeah, I decided because of those reasons, because, especially a big part of this podcast is supposed to be me sharing my real self. And well, at this moment in time, this is my real self. I decided to just go for it. And also another thing I'm kind of excited about is a week and a half ago, I got a haircut finally after like, I don't know, 7 months or something. And I know to the outside eye, it might not, you might not see a big difference, but for me, I can tell a difference, and I feel a lot better about it and excited. And so it's down today, and so I decided to just go for it and post this video. So when I was thinking about what I could talk about, probably the thing that's left the biggest impression on me recently, just kind of like new things that I'm thinking about, that new thoughts that are being introduced to me, is through a podcast. So I've gotten into a third podcast, which is the Trust Your Body Project, and I think I've mentioned it maybe before, but yeah, I've been listening to it, and it's just some concepts that are being introduced to me, things I haven't heard of or thought about, and that's not been a part of my life, and that I'm so grateful to be getting it all. Of course, it would have been nice to have some of this stuff earlier in life, but better late than never. And also, I mean, we've been evolving, the health industry has been evolving, diet culture has been evolving, and so maybe this stuff wasn't there when I was younger anyway, so I couldn't have known about it. But yeah, I mean, as I've said before, I've struggled a lot with my self image and self confidence, and it's all based off of, my physical appearance, especially my weight. That's been something that I've really had a lot of negative thoughts and feelings about over the years, some pretty dark ones. And that's, even held me back, because I think I definitely believed that I was not worthy of certain things happening unless I looked a certain way. And the primary factor of that certain way I was supposed to look in my mind being thinness. And so things like being found attractive, being loved, you know, success in career stuff, and happiness and contentment and all of these things. Like, I really didn't think that I deserved those things, that I was worthy of those things, that those things could even happen until I became thin. And so I just kind of believed for many years that that my life couldn't start and wouldn't start until I lost a lot of weight and looked a certain way. And so I lived in this like life paralysis place for many years, and feel in a way that I've, lost some years of my life, which I think in my brain I don't believe, because everything in your past and your experience is part of your story. It leads to your present and to your future and to any potential impact you could have on the people around you and the world even. And so I know that all of those years are have purpose and are useful, but it feels like lost time sometimes. Um, so anyway, that's a pretty like awful way to think and to live or not live really for a while, to think that the good things for you can't start and won't start until this irrationally big, not necessarily possible, not even meaningful thing happens. And so it's been pretty liberating to be listening to this podcast. And, there are some aspects of it that are, maybe cheesy or whatever, but God, there's just been so much that I've been getting out of it, and just learning it, just even hearing for the first time and learning the phrase health at every size. Like, I didn't know that that was a thing. I believed that, bigger bodies were, that equaled unhealthy. Like, just, that's it. There's no discussion, no nothing about it. And, so to learn that it's possible to be healthy, regardless of your size, was pretty amazing for me. Um, and also just some of like the wording around things like using bigger body. I am growing to really like that phrase a lot more than the other ones that I've used to judge myself negatively over the years. Like, you know, overweight and fat and just all of those things. I mean, I think even more than like, I know for some people, curvy is a good word. Like, they'll describe somebody who's curvy, like that's an appealing thing. And for some people it is. For me, I've somehow internalized it in a bad way, that where I don't like it. And it's definitely annoyed me sometimes when there's been, women who I've seen as thin and they've described themselves or been described as curvy, and I've thought, well, if that's curvy, then what am I? Like, and so yeah, I've myself, this is my own issue and no one else. I've put some negative meanings around that word and words like that. So smaller bodies, bigger bodies, like I definitely am growing to really like that description. And again, just like hearing about and thinking about that there's nothing wrong or bad or shameful or disgusting or any of that about having a bigger body, that there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing to be ashamed of, there's nothing in that to be sorry about, to apologize for, that these are just, they might sound like whatever things to other people, but to me it's radical. These ideas are radical. I've been so ashamed of myself and of how I've looked for decades, and that's ruled my life at times. At the worst of times, that has absolutely ruled my life. And so yeah, these are big ideas for me, transformative ideas for me. And so as the host of the podcast, Whitney Catalano, as she interviews various people, it's also really amazing for me to hear them and their stories and their perspectives, and people who might look similar to me, being confident and proud of themselves and unapologetic, and yeah, it's really inspiring for me. So I'm maybe around halfway through the episodes that she's released in that podcast, and so Not all the way. There's, more to learn from that. And there's resources that she's brought up in interviews and talking about books and things that there's a lot for me to continue to research and learn and discover. But even just being on the beginning of that path is something I'm really, really enjoying. I can feel already is kind of changing me and changing my life a little bit for the better, for sure. Um, and so, yeah, just kind of thinking about all the lies that I've been taught and bought into about weight and health and diets and even, some of it from family members and some of it from doctors and just all these things that I've believed to be true and have used to hate myself for decades of my life. Having those truths, quote unquote truths, knocked down is pretty great, is liberating. I just is the word that keeps coming to mind that I said earlier. Um, and so, yeah, I'm excited to be kind of like knocking down those lies, learning that they're lies in the first place, um, and getting to a place of loving myself um, as I am and not seeing anything wrong with myself as I am. And, um, I'm at least on the beginning of the path to getting to a place where I will believe that my life doesn't have to wait to start until this thing that is probably never going to happen and I shouldn't even be caring about happens. So, um, I can take my life off hold, um, and get it going and actually get to living it, to living the thing. And so that's really, yeah, that's really thrilling to me. And it was really interesting in, I think the last, was probably, I think it was the last podcast episode I'd listened to of hers. One of the things she brought up was, talking about the differences between um, loving yourself and loving your body and how those are actually two different things. You are not your body, which again might be like duh to some of you, but to me was like, what? And she even repeated it, and I was the person who needed it to be repeated, was I am not my body. And I think I've heard or half thought or half believed before, like, oh, I'm not only my body or I'm more than my body, but to just be told like you are not your body was like, whoa, mind blowing. Um, and so I have a lot of work to still do towards, really accepting that and believing that. And, but yeah, so the difference between loving yourself and loving your body and even, respecting your body and trusting your body. I mean, these are big things, and it's really cool for me to kind of, for the first time, really, in a way, be hearing about them and kind of taking it to heart and really thinking about all of these things in relation to me and how I've thought about myself and treated myself and felt about myself and how I want to um, think about myself and treat myself and talk to myself or about myself in the future. And so getting from point A to point B on that. And um, it's cool to kind of see parts of the goal that I'm working towards now um, that were not part of the goal before, that I wasn't aware existed, that I wouldn't even thought to be moving towards. And so it's kind of, I guess what I'm starting to think is like it's narrowing, or it's defining the picture of the goal that I'm working towards. And so that the destination, as it were, I guess, is becoming more defined. And so it's easier when the end goal is more defined, it's easier to kind of start to see the path to that place and how to go down that path, how to even get to that path or on that path. Um, and so it's kind of lighting the way, I guess, more and more for me. And where I want to go and the route to get there. So I'm a beginner on this journey for sure, not, you know, an authority or anything like that, anywhere near that. But I'm a beginner on that particular journey, and it's one that I'm excited to be on. And as I've said recently, we don't say we're proud of ourselves very much, and I certainly have not said that about myself much in my life, but this is a particular journey I will say that I am proud of myself to be on and to be working towards. So, anyway, that's that. This, as usual, got longer than I thought it would be. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk about that, about being on the beginning of that journey of starting to learn about loving myself and loving my body, and trusting my body, starting to learn about it, and starting to try to implement some of it in my life. And it's been really exhilarating to me and inspiring to me. And so I hope that in me sharing it, I might open the door for some of those things for you, and get you excited, and get you motivated and inspired. So, yeah, I'm very happy to share that with you. And if you want to know more, let's chat. And also, you can listen to that podcast, the Trust Your Body Project podcast, like I am. And if you have recommendations for me going down this road, please let me know. I would love to hear about that. So anyway, I hope that you're well. Hope you've had a good beginning to your week. And I will be back with you again soon. Until then, ha det.